Hey, welcome back, knife nerds and everyday care people. It's your boy, the Big Canucker, and we are going to have a look at a homegrown product from a homegrown knife designer, Adam Gibson. We're talking about the Canadian knife company Sleeper. Now, I have to say this right off the bat, that this knife was given to me by Adam. It was sent to me at no charge just to have a review it. He is very honest up front. He wants 100% what I think of this knife. No BS, no paid advertisement. This is going to be my honest opinion about this knife, and I just want to make sure that you guys knew where it came from. And I am going to give my honest opinion of this. All right. Before we do that, please don't forget to hit the old subscribe, as well as like and share. I'd appreciate it so much. We're getting close to 2,000 subscribers, and this year, please, God willing, I would like to hit 5,000. It's just my own little pride peg. I mean, you got to have, bigger numbers, I guess, to impress the ladies. And that's exactly what I'd like to do going forward, is impress the ladies. I want to walk up to some chick, and I see her in the bar, and I want to say, hey, baby, I've got 5,000 subscribers. We'll see if that works. We'll see if my wife, will let me do that. All right, let's have a look at the tabletop, and we'll have a look at this CKC Sleeper. All right, so first things first, it comes in a very, very nice package. It's a magnetic enclosure, click, and I thought that was excellent. You've got yourself a couple of information sheets. The first one here is a CKC knife company, and then you've got the Sleeper pocket knife as with all the specifications on it, which is very nice. And the other side here, you've got a Bible quote, actually. You, my brothers and sisters, were called to be free, but do not use your freedom to indulge in the flesh. Rather serve one another humbly in love. Galatians 5:13. And I guess that's Paul's letter to Galatians. And now the Galatians were a group of people who were very kind of close to the Celts, as well as the Picts and the Galts. We'll get on that something else. All right. Hey, if that's Mr. Gibson's vein, then all the power to him. All right, let's have a look at this. This happens to be CK Sleeper, and I was very, very pleased right off the bat. Now, what a sleeper is, if you're not sure what a sleeper is a hot rod car it's got the go-go engine, the suspension, and it kicks ass quarter mile or in a race, but it looks like a POS. But this does not look like a POS, but I can see why they call it sleeper, because it does have a really, really excellent design as far as, the pivot, the way the pivot is centered, the multi-row bearings on this, it's excellent. And it opens and closes like a dream. It snaps open, no problem. Oh, a little bit of oil there. And then it drops shut. The drop shut-itude is so nice on a knife of this caliber. So let's get this out of the way here. Let's go over this here, the size-wise and stuff like that, some of the specs. Of course, the blade material is 14C28N. Now, the 14C28N is a excellent steel. It's a very, very clean steel. It is, I would say, it's probably on the high end of the budget steels that are out there. So you've got budget, which is 14. You've got budget, which is say something like 8CR13 MOV, which is way down here, which is the Spyderco entrance. And then you've got way up here the 14C28N. So that is an excellent steel. It's a Sandvik steel that's made in Sweden, and it is very well put together. All right, so let's go. So it's got a black stonewash edge, or black stonewash blade. It is 3 millimeters thick, so the blade has got enough blade stock to be, functional as a good, strong tool, but also thin enough with this very deep it's close to a flat grind, but it's almost like a really super high saber grind, and it cuts through cardboard very, very well. It did come extremely sharp right out of the box. I was really, really impressed with this. It was really, really kind of blew me away with how sharp it was. Let's just see here. The blade length is 3.32 inches, which is just in that kind of everyday carry perfectness. I think 3.5 inches is kind of perfect. I like mine just a smidge more. My everyday carry is probably 3.75 is kind of my great user length. Although for legalities, a lot of people like to have that less than 3.5 inches. The handle thickness here is 15 millimeters. It is kind of a little bit of a fat boy, but it's a contoured micarta, so it is very comfortable in the hands. Like you've got lots of stuff like this. Say this happens to be a Wharncliffe Delica. With the FRN handles, and you can see how skinny it is. I mean, it's fairly comfortable, but when you put something like this in your hand, it's way more comfortable. It really feels the hand, and it gives you a really excellent purchase. Now, all the surfaces are kind of chamfered, so that's really quite good. Let's go over the rest of this stuff here. Total length is 7.6 inches, so less than 8 inches. Total weight is 4.25 ounces, so it's not super svelte, but it is under 5 ounces, so I think it disappears in the pocket, no problem. Now, the pivot has multi-row ball bearings, and the other thing that's really, really neat on this knife is all your hardware is T8. There's no messing around where you're looking at T8, T6, stuff like that. Everything on here is T8, and I have to say, I popped this knife open to have a quick look at the multi-row bearings and give it a little bit of a video, which as you can see right here. And while I was doing that, it was so easy. It was 1, 2, 3 off, and it popped off. It was so easy to pop this open. So if you're the kind of guy who likes to do maintenance on your knives, you like to get in there every once in a while, clean it all up and re-lube, you've got no problems with this knife. It is so quick to just click open, no problem. And I don't usually do that in my videos where I open up my knife and have a look at the milling on the inside and stuff like that. This is a really well put together knife. If you look inside there, you've got a couple of steel liners. They are skeletonized to save a little bit of weight, and it's got those multi-row ceramic bearings, which really lends to the fact that this knife is really, really smooth. I mean, it's the drop shuttiness of it. I mean, this thing here is tightened up. It was excellent. Now, one of the stories I kind of want to tell you about that is a long time ago when I was selling cars, years and years ago, I worked at a Ford store, and one of our biggest competition happened to be, say, stuff like the Toyota and the Toyota Corolla. And one time, the Toyota Corolla was the best-selling four-door sedan in all of Canada. It was just kicking everybody's ass. And then the Japanese yen took a nosedive. And in order to stay competitive, what they ended up doing was de-engineering some of the stuff that you don't see, like, say, the power steering pump and, the brake lines and stuff like that. They took those things and they spent less money on those, but they still kept the outside good. Now, what had ended up happening with that, just to get off topic, is when they did it with, say, the power steering pump, you could actually overturn the power steering pump in that car, and you'd turn the wheel, the car would still go straight, and it was a horrible feeling. I know that's a little bit off topic, but it immediately reminded me of this knife here. This is supposed to be, I'm not going to say it's a budget knife because it's $124 in Canada. I mean, you get to be a little over $100, but it's not like a $300 Spyderco. But it's got the action and the smoothness of a knife that is much more expensive, and that is something that you can't see that's on the inside. So when Mr. Gibson takes something that is as important and to a knife's use as the pivot, which you don't see, and puts that kind of money into it and those kinds of options into it, it allows you to have a really wicked, satisfying opening that will serve you for a long time. You know that you're getting, I think, a quality material. Now, this happens to be made in China. Yes, it is. But it's made by a company called Shieldon, and it seems like they've got fairly good manufacturing and quality control right across the board. I did a little bit of searching on it. I wasn't super intimate with this company, but I did have a look at a few videos where people were talking about it, and they had pretty decent things to say as far as their build quality and their quality and craftsmanship. And looking at this knife, you can see that they've done a few things really well. Like I said, everything here seems to be chamfered, which is really, really nice. I liked the fit and finish on this knife was excellent. It came from the factory, centered, and I actually did take a video of that, but I ended up pulling this knife after a part, and I put it back in, and it was really easy to center too as well. So I didn't center this. It was actually centered by Shieldon. So that's one of the things there too as well. Overall, the fit, the ergonomics out here are really excellent. I think my hand fits in there really well. Being a double XL hand, you've got yourself, excuse me. Oh, I apologize that. You've got yourself a kind of a 60-40 center choil here that your hand can fit in. I think it's a little bit, that's kind of a mixed blessing. It allows you to kind of get up in there, and do some real good, draw cuts on it, and allows you to have control over that fine motor work. But you got to be careful because there's no real, it's just sharpened all the way to the choil. And if you get a little bit rambunctious or a little bit rammy, you can cut yourself very, very easily with how sharp this is. The other thing that I dislike about this knife intensely are this wire clip. The wire clip itself is a great idea. It fits in and out of the pocket really, really well. I just wish they'd used a thicker gauge wire because it's got some movement on it, and I really don't like that. And it just doesn't feel as good. Excuse me. I apologize for that. It just doesn't feel as good as the rest of the knife. Another little bit knock on this is, the fit and finish was good, but the fit on this screw here is a little bit countersunk, where that one is more flush. And I know that you got to tighten up, the center of the blade. I just wish this was a little bit less milled out and a little bit more even on that. And yeah, so it has a thumb stud as well as an opening, which is really quite handy. It is quite nice. It allows you to spidey flick, but it also allows you to, for those who love the thumb stud. And I like doing the thumb stud with my nail rather than the meat of my thumb. And it just seems to go really, really well with me. This seems to open and close excellently. All right. Now, going back to, say, a negative, I wish it had and that might not be a negative for everybody, but it's a negative for me. I wish there was a lanyard in here. Even if there was a lanyard, say, up here, man, oh man, even though this knife goes into the pocket really, really well, when I'm carrying things, as you can see, let's go over, size-wise, 450, here's that. You've got a Delica. You can see that it is just a smidge bigger than a Delica. And you've got another one here, which happens to be the Manix 2. What is missing in this scenario here? The fact that lanyard, no lanyard. And I told Adam that when he was asking me my opinion. I said, buddy, I gotta have a lanyard on it for me to absolutely love this thing 100%. And it doesn't. So I can't love it 100%, but I can love it a lot because I think it's an excellent knife. For $124, if you're in the States, I believe it's $99 at White Mountain Knives, and you can get yourself 10% off there. And I think I don't have a White Mountain Knives 10% off code, but I think if you use CCE, they gives you 10% off. So I'm giving my buddy a little bit of a plug on that. Would I recommend this knife? Absolutely. I think it's an excellent value for the money. I think it's a really, really good looking design. I love the denim micarta on it. And micarta is one of my favorite all-time handles, especially for work handles. It gets a little bit wet and it gets grippier rather than getting slipperier. And the other thing is it starts to develop a really nice patina as your hand oil starts to get into it. It's just a really all-around excellent handle material, shock-proof. The electricity doesn't pass through it. Normally, chemicals don't bother it, but I just think it's an excellent handle material, and I love the knife. I totally love the knife. I'm going to give this knife probably about a 7.5 out of 10. For me to get a little bit higher, I would love to have a lanyard. This wire clip isn't giving it to me, and even though this 14C28 is the higher-end budget steel, I like to have probably S30V and above. I know you'd be putting up a little bit more money for it if it was an S30V, but I just like having that, even though 14C28 is an excellent steel, takes a great edge, stainlessness, pretty tough. I just would like a little bit more for an all-around everyday carry knife for me to have in my pocket for the next 2 or 3 years. Now, because I have so many knives all the time, I don't have to rely on having a steel on there that is that stays sharp for 2 years, because I can rotate my knives a lot, and I won't notice that as much as, say, the guy who's going to have his knife in his pocket day by day by day for the next 2 years. So, I mean, that's a little bit thing. So I could look past that, but I just would like to have a little bit higher steel, but then the price goes up. But then you're like, I know if you're in that S30V territory, you're looking at 150 to 175 or so, because I know the steel does make quite a bit of difference. And then you're looking at a whole lot more competition. And you know what? I'm going to go back on my thing and say the 14C28 steel is good enough, I think, for this level of knife, and I don't think you got to worry about it whatsoever. You certainly would want to have something like Cade Sierra 13 MOV on this thing, man. 14C28 is a rocking steel compared to that, for sure. So, Mr. Gibson, I think you hit it out of the park. Home run with this. So don't forget to check him out. I have got a link to his website in the description. He's also coming out with his second knife that is coming right away. And he's also got some other things too as well. If you're looking at some gunny juice, some gunny glide, things like that. So I know he's starting to do a little bit of a, just get us homegrown Canadians, a home to, buy a lot of our everyday carry stuff from. And I got to say, good luck to you, Mr. Gibson. I think you did an excellent job with this knife. And the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give this away. When we hit 2,000 subscribers, we're going to do a draw and we're going to give this puppy away. And it's going to go to somebody's home and they're going to love it forever. And they're going to cut things with it. And they're going to abuse it and sharpen it and love it and all sorts of things. And I don't even know what you can do with your knives at home, people. I don't want to speculate, but this is going to be somebody's home when we hit 2,000 subscribers. Thanks so much for stopping by, you guys. Appreciate it so much. Please stay safe out there. Keep your stick on the ice, the shiny side up. This is the Big Canucker saying adios.